It was the eye roll seen around the world. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni appeared fed up with President Joe Biden and NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, awaiting their late arrival to the Nato Summit yesterday. She even checked her imaginary wristwatch. I love it.
It's fantastic.
Isn't it great? I mean, and it's just so nice to see a leader just being a human being. But you were in the room for the press conference. What time did you actually have to get there? And then what time did the press conference start?
Oh, I think we were there about 2 hours before, because it kept being put back, of course, because there was some other thing. There was a Ukrainian compact signing, a thing that had a press conference that had been billed initially, I think, for 5:30, ended up starting a couple of hours after that. But like you, I love the eye roll there, classic Italian expressiveness, which we need more of that, I think, at World Summits for sure.
It is funny how when you throw us on the world stage, how Americans, like, we really do exemplify who we are on the world stage. And I wonder. I actually wish I had seen what you were seeing, and that's actually the kind of thing I would rather be watching than the details of a press conference and what Biden did or didn't say, because you take a bunch of people, high-powered people, throw them in a room and tell them just to wait.
Right.
Like their schedules are packed down to the minute, and just tell them to wait and let's see what happens. It sounds like this crazy social experiment.
Sure. And with her, I mean, obviously that's, an amusing moment for sure. But it is often these kind of unscripted moments, or moments where there's human reaction, that can be quite telling. And, that's the case in politics for years and years. This is, I guess, punctuality related, or at least time related. You remember, or at least you've seen the footage of George H.W. Bush in the debate with Clinton. He checks his watch in the middle of the debate when a questioner from the audience was asking something about how the economy had impacted her. Those sort of things, when they're telling about what someone's actual attitude is, can be kind of interesting. Now with Meloni, it just seemed she was kind of irked with Biden for running behind time, which was interesting enough in itself.
It is. I guess that's the power of being the president. Everybody shows up, clears through security, and you want to be late, you get to be late. The rest of us just have to wait around.
I know, and not for the. I was surprised that Mr. Stoltenberg wasn't complaining or wasn't showing more evident annoyance, because, as I would imagine, he'd be quite a stickler for these things running on time, but it just never panned out.
Well, and there is a over observation of this stuff too. While I do like to look at leaders and look at them as if they're little bugs walking around under a microscope, you had at the same press conference Biden's national security team sitting in the front row, and social media is going crazy because when Biden said something or slipped up on something, the national security advisor did this, touched his face, right? Like, literally, that's all it was a. And that suddenly becomes, this means something, right? So you can go the other direction too.
Yeah. One of the disadvantages of being in the room is that you only have the angles from your own eyes rather than TV cameras. Jake Sullivan and Lloyd Austin and Tony Blinken were sitting on the opposite side to me, so I could only see the back of their heads and not the reaction. But all those moments can be, I think, really interesting. You remember there's the famous one of Trump and the bleach comment. Now, people in the comments will go crazy about how we characterize the bleach comment.
The inject your veins with bleach to solve COVID?
But something along those lines. But Deborah Birx was sitting to the side of the lectern during that press conference, and there's a camera angle of her looking completely horrified as Trump goes on this meandering
She has no
ramble.
poker face at all.
Right. It's pretty evident what she thought of that suggestion, however you want to characterize it.
And this is, right, at the end of the day, though, Deborah Birx couldn't change what the president wanted to do a policy. Right. This is the president or leader of Italy standing there, and she's just kind of stuck at somebody else's whim at this point. Yeah, no, absolutely. And, who among us has not been somewhere where somebody's late and you're like, I don't really want to be here. Why can someone not get me out? Oh, and I do see a cell phone being pulled out there, because that's actually what I was wondering is why were they not doing Candy Crush or just something else to pass the time?
Should do. More Candy Crush would be required. More games on phones, I think. think. You know?
I think, listen, clearly that's what we need to do to solve all our problems, is just gamify everything. Get those dopamine hits in and dopamine your politics, and we're good to go.
Forget about the global issues, forget about democratic strife over who their nominee should be, and just play some games on your phone.
That's truly what we talk about with hot mess politics, yes.
Absolutely, for sure.
But there is that idea, Niall, right, of, as I mentioned a few moments ago, about the attitudes we present on the world stage. And this is Europe. This is not the developing world. This is people who all think that they have power and history. I mean, these are the colonial powers who are still gathering, and now they're a military group for NATO, and 75 years of having saved the world from itself, right? Like that's what NATO is. And this is the liberalism, the democracy on the world stage story. And America just kind of shows up with Biden and is like, yeah, we're just going to make you wait.
Well,
you need us. You need us, folks.
Right. I mean, it's also that reminder that even when there are these, grand canvases on which to paint about, oh, well, NATO saved the world and it's this important pact and 75th anniversary and all that, it still is an event that is marked or characterized by human interaction and human irritation and human lack of punctuality and all those kind of things.
Human stereotypes, right? Like this is the dynamic of
absolutely.
Trump has been talking about what's the point of all of this, right? The Trump folks are saying America pays more into NATO.
Right.
So they're benefiting, that whole argument, and then you invite them to your capital and just kind of make them hang around for a while.
No, for sure. I mean, there's also, we were talking about, how certain gestures can be telling. I can't remember what the summit was. Remember Trump, there were a group of leaders walking, I think it was toward a press availability, and Trump sort of pulled someone out of the way to get to the front himself. Like, that's one of those moments where you go, oh yeah, you're that guy, and that would be the case whether you were at an international summit or whether, it was some completely random social engagement.
I don't think Trump would ever be accused of being diplomatic.
No,
and these are fundamentally diplomatic moments by definition.
Well, I think he would be proud to be considered undiplomatic, probably. It's one of the many kind of things that he has.
This is one of my favorite moments, and it was early in the Trump presidency when people were still watching to see how he would be on the world stage, and he walked up to the French leader, Emmanuel Macron, and he walked up to him and just did one of these, like, I'm going to clean you. And Macron just stumbled and it was such a I'm going to clean you power move, like very literally primal move. And Trump is so good at those types of nonverbals in a way that the Italian leader is now great at nonverbals as well.
Sure, absolutely. So listen, that does it for us this week on Rising. It was great to be with Nayyera Huck here. Always a pleasure and a great conversation. And be sure to like, share and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen on the go, we are now available anywhere you listen to podcasts, as all the best podcasters say. So that's about it for us. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you soon.